It's all going to zero against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Yo, welcome to another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. We are your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution and breaking news, culture, and magic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. We are back in our studios. It was a crazy week in Los Angeles, California at the Pacific Bitcoin Festival. Opti was holding it down backstage, doing a bunch of interviews. We should be dropping some of those very, very soon. We got some pretty big names. I think the one with Preston was dropped over the weekend. But yeah, it was a whole lot of fun. I can't recommend Bitcoin festivals and conferences more because that's really where you're going to find those like in real life connections, right? You can't replace that, as much as, you interact on Bitcoin Twitter, you go on YouTube and you watch your favorite Bitcoiners. When you meet in real life, there's something special about it. We're going to go to one more conference this year, the Unconfiscatable Conference, thrown by Tonevase and Co. In December of this year. Hope to see you guys there. Opti and I are going to be we're going to be holding it down. We'll probably have a news desk and such. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun. Anyways, today we're going to talk about the one, the only, the most popular broadcaster on planet Earth, 11 million views and listens per episode. We're going to talk about the man, the myth, the legend himself, Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan is something that we've covered tremendously on this show because he is someone that is outside of the Bitcoin echo chamber, right? So it's like when Lex Friedman had Michael Saylor on his show, when Tucker, back when he was on Legacy Media, when he had Naim Bukele, Max Kaiser, Matt Odell, Marty Bent, Michael Saylor on his show, Tucker Carlson Tonight or Tucker Carlson Today. Those are the things that really shift the Overton window. Those are the things that really break the Bitcoin echo chamber. And for anyone who doesn't know what the Bitcoin echo chamber is a lot of people don't understand is Bitcoin content creators are making content for other Bitcoiners, but that's not going to move the envelope. How do you get to that intransigent minority of Bitcoiners in the US? How do you get to that point? Well, you break the Bitcoin echo chamber, you get non-Bitcoiners to talk about Bitcoin, to embrace the Bitcoin ethos, and to ask one very simple question, which is, why am I being forced to use a money that steals from me? Why am I being forced through legal tender laws to use a money that loses purchasing power over time? The more people ask that question, the harder it's going to be for them. They don't have a good response to that question. They ostrich it. They just put their head in the ground. They're like, look, it's a fact of life. This is Mother Nature. Money has to have inflation. But the thing about Bitcoin that is a problem for them is that Bitcoin does not go away. They can't make it go away. So because they can't make it go away, they have to compete with it. And on a competition level, when people have a choice between a money that is deflationary, increases in purchasing power over time, money that is censorship resistant versus money that is censored at the whim of a bureaucrat, and money that is inflationary, meaning it loses purchasing power over time people are going to choose the better money. And that's just a fact. So the only thing they really have left is narrative propaganda, spin, and misrepresentations. That's why you're seeing the high production value videos coming out of the IMF explaining to you what inflation is with conveniently leaving the fact that inflation is literally caused because governments print money that they don't have. And of course, they have to leave that part out. Or when Christine Lagarde is blaming inflation on or better said, the European Central Bank is blaming inflation on workers asking for more money, for more compensation, right? So that is literally examples of them gaslighting you. That is literally examples of them trying to throw you off and saying, hey, we're not responsible for this. It's everything and anything but ourselves. We did not cause this. And that is why people like Joe Rogan are so important. when they start asking questions about Bitcoin. This is why people like Tim Pool, when he says his comments about Bitcoin, are so important, because these are non-Bitcoiners. These are broadcasters and podcasters that have garnered massive audiences that are non-Bitcoiners. And when you're exposing them to the solution to a lot of the political mishaps, a lot of the political discourse, a lot of the political division, because that's what Bitcoin is. It's a solution to these problems. It's a solution that is not a voting solution. It's a big deal. And I think Joe Rogan is almost there. And we have a clip for you guys to prove just that. Anyways, I want to bring up my legendary co-host. He's traveling at the moment. He's still in Cali. Opti's in Cali. How you doing, Opti?
Yeah, what's up, guys? Nico rug pulled you guys. I'm not back at the home studio. I'm actually at my parents' house, so I'm in my dad's office right now. But hey, the show goes on. We will still get you guys all the signal. But on that note, guys, I was telling everyone this. I just told everyone in Spaces as well. We are live on Twitter Spaces this week. It was so good to see all you guys, because Nico and I just ranted to a computer. And, we're just friends that ranted to the computer, and we forget that there's people out there that enjoy what we're doing. And the amount of just kind things people were telling us all week, it's just really kind, man. And it really kind of just makes us want to work harder and keep giving you guys a show that you enjoy and giving you guys content that you guys want to watch, want to continue to come on and hang out with us. And it's just, man, like I see people showing love in the chat, and it was good to see you guys. We'll see you guys again. But yeah, on that note, not the same studio. There might be dogs barking. My family dogs go crazy sometimes. So I'll do my best to minimize all the auxiliary noise and all that stuff. But hey, show goes on. I think we're going to have a good show today. And I'm pretty excited about today and just getting back to work, Nico. Especially when you're throwing me curveballs all weekend, bro. Like it's so much more simple when you just come on the show, Simply Bitcoin, and do what we normally do. It's almost like we're professionals over here, bro.
Yeah, almost, maybe so. Anyways, no more delay. I want to bring up our very special guest, Vendetta. He is the founder of the Bitcoin Way, and they essentially they're your on-ramp. They help you, if you want to set up your cold storage, basically it's customer service. If you are, if you haven't been exposed to Bitcoin yet, the Bitcoin Way guys will definitely, handhold you through the process. So Vendetta, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate you, bro.
It's my pleasure, man. Thank you for having me.
And for anyone who doesn't know, his actual name isn't Vendetta, but he does have a rose next to his handle and stuff. And I know that his favorite movie is V for Vendetta. So it is in my nature to give nicknames when I see fit. Yeah, man, why is V for Vendetta your favorite movie? I feel like that's another Bitcoin movie, just as The Matrix.
V for Vendetta, absolutely, man. It's a direct reflection of what's been going on for the past 3 to 5 years. The totalitarian nightmare that we've been living through has been put in a movie, one of the best sellers. And I've watched this movie like countless times. Never gets boring, you watch that movie and you sort of see your life, in real time, how it plays out. And hopefully it ends the same way.
100%. It is very, very reminiscent of the times. And also, I think it's also it's a foreshadowing. It's a warning, of how things can get. People get scared. Governments use that. People getting scared to justify taking away the freedoms of everybody. Anyways, guys, if you are enjoying the show, make sure to smash that like button. Really helps us with the YouTube algorithms. Help us maintain our streak of breaking 100 likes within the first hour of the live stream. All you got to do is smash that like button. If you're watching us on Twitter, if you're watching us on Rumble, if you're watching us on YouTube, so smash that like button. All right, everybody, let's get on to the numbers. We got a lot to talk about today. Let's check it out.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stampseed. All right, guys, I made it super easy for you guys. You can scan the QR code on your screen right now. It will take you directly to the Stampseed website where you could buy yourself a Stampseed titanium seed storage kit. Use promo code SIMPLY for 15% off anything on their website. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is 27,450 sats per dollar, 3,644. Block height 811,396. Blocks to halving 28,604. Halving estimate April 21st, 2024. Total Lightning Network capacity 5,232 Bitcoin. Capacity value 143 million US dollars. Realized monetary inflation 1.74%. The market capitalization of Bitcoin $534 billion. The B, Bitcoin versus gold market cap 4.27%. In the grand scheme of things, Bitcoin is still a baby. My favorite statistic out of all this is the 1.74% because it continues to embarrass fiat currencies. And, you know, as the halvings come and this number just keeps on going down, it's just going to continue highlighting the fact that Bitcoin is just better money. More importantly, before I play you guys the Joe Rogan clip, that money can exist and work just fine without inflation. And that is something that governments don't want you to know, because as soon as that gets out of the bag, governments are going to have a really hard time explaining that, because remember, governments use the money printer to pay for things they cannot afford to pay for. Without the money printer, without creating money for free that everyone else has to work for, their only way of raising funds is through direct taxation. And if it's through direct taxation, all of a sudden the incentives align with politicians, because all of a sudden they're incentivized not to get as close as humanly possible to the money spigot. They're incentivized to actually do good by their constituents so that they can remain in power, and also so that they can, you know, potentially raise funds to pay for whatever idea they, you know, they see fit. So anyways, here is the clip from Joe Rogan, from the Joe Rogan Experience. Here's the Bitcoin mindset saying Joe Rogan is almost there. Time for Saylor to be on the podcast. Jimmy Song did an episode and he was questioning, like, hey, like, why isn't Saylor, you know, why hasn't Saylor been invited? Why hasn't a prominent Bitcoiner been invited, especially after everything that's been going on, whether that's Nayib Bukele in El Salvador, Michael Saylor choosing Bitcoin as an alternative to cash, to holding Bitcoin on his balance sheet. You know, and Bitcoin Mindset asks a very basic question, very simple question, which is like, you know, like, what's going on here? Like, why isn't, you know, like, why is Saylor, why hasn't Saylor been invited on the Joe Rogan podcast? Jimmy Song did a great post, and he went into a lot of the multitudes of reasons, right? Whether that is, you know, the fact that he'll get peer pressure, not only to bring a Bitcoiner on the podcast, but also a shitcoiner, to kind of placate both sides, maybe the heat that comes from it. Remember when Elon Musk allowed Tesla to be to accept Bitcoin as payment? He kind of reversed that decision real quick, and he said, we're not gonna change course until it's proven that 50% of Bitcoin mining is, you know, powered by renewable energies. Well, we're currently sitting, according to the latest Cambridge report, we're currently sitting at 56% of Bitcoin mining is currently powered by renewable energies. Looks like Elon hasn't changed course. So I think that there's a lot of pressure on Elon, a lot of pressure on Joe Rogan, because they're so influential, because they're out of the Bitcoin echo chamber. I think that their words hold a lot of weight. And if you don't believe me, look at what happened with Russell Brand, right? As soon as he, you know, started touting things that were, not necessarily the friendliest towards governments in the UK, the UK government literally, the parliament of the UK literally asked Rumble to demonetize Russell Brand. So these independent content creators that governments are having a hard time co-opting because they are independent. Yeah, man, as soon as they start asking that question, hey, why are we being forced to use the money that steals from us? Once that is out, once most people are asking that question, it's game over. It's game, set, and match. Anyways, let's play the clip by Joe Rogan.
I mean, the real fascinating crypto is Bitcoin. To me, I mean, that's the one that I think has the most likely possibility of becoming a universal viable currency. And it's, it's limited in the amount that there can be. It's, people mine it with their own computer. It's like, that to me is very fascinating. And I love the fact that it's been implemented. And that at least I've had Andreas Antonopoulos on the podcast, and when he talks about it, he's living it. He's spending all of his money. Everything he gets paid is in Bitcoin. He pays his rent in Bitcoin. Everything he does is in Bitcoin.
So again, he's getting so close. He's so close. Tim Pool, by the way, very, very similar wording. They're so close. And again, the reason that we focus on these large non-Bitcoin related figures is because they're large non-Bitcoin related figures. They're outside of the Bitcoin echo chamber. It's people like Joe Rogan that have the ability to move the Overton window outside the grasp of captured media. I would say government media. Parker Lewis, when we did an Simply Bitcoin IRL, I said, hey, why is the corporate media doing this? And he stopped me and he said, no, Nico, it's not the corporate media. This is government media. So yeah, it's outside the grasp. We had an article that was released by the BBC last week that literally said that, inflation is not a tax, so clearly, they're used to controlling the information flows. And the internet is just kind of throwing a wrench in that. And now it's giving the ability for anyone to just spin up a podcast, create a Twitter account, communicate directly with their audience, right? Without the need of an intermediary. Anyways, now this is my take to it. I tweeted this out, I think it was yesterday, and it connected with a lot of people. And I think it really connects with what Joe Rogan has to say. I say, go on offense, force them to answer a simple question. Why are we being forced to use the money that steals from us? If enough of the populace is aware of this, we will win. 100% agree. Not only is if enough of the populace is aware of this, it's also if enough of the populace is aware of it and also buying Bitcoin and also taking that Bitcoin into self-custody. That is how things change. This is not a voting thing. Voting is you're voting either political party you vote into power. The issue remains the same. There's a bureaucratic elite that gets to create money for free that everyone else has to work for. And that completely misaligns the incentives of the ruling class and the rest of us, right? So you really do have to fix the money. If you fix the root problem, if you fix the base layer of society, I suspect a lot of these issues, whether they're social issues, cultural issues, I think they will literally just go away. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on this? And then we'll move on to Vendetta.
Yeah, so first and foremost, of course, it's Bitcoin, not crypto. We say that all the time. There's Bitcoin and there's shitcoins, and I'm loving the fact that Joe Rogan's having this conversation with Sam Altman, the WorldCoin scam guy and ChatGPT guy, and he's just there's Bitcoin and then there's shitcoin. And of course, I'm sure people out there, and I didn't really see people's response to this since we were busy over the weekend, but I'm sure people out there kind of still saying the same thing they always say. It's oh, why isn't Joe Rogan talking about Bitcoin more? And it's guys, that's not really his job. That's our job to talk about Bitcoin, but he's saying what we say all the time. There's only one viable quote unquote crypto, and that is Bitcoin. And it's because it is hard cap, it is censorship resistant. And I'm really glad that he did mention Andreas Antonopoulos because like Nico and I both have a soft spot for Andreas. He's the reason why we became Bitcoiners in the first place. I'm pretty sure we both saw Andreas videos, and like that's like when we first got into Bitcoin, and then we're like, oh my god, this is incredible. And what Andreas was on Joe Rogan like, I don't know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago or something, and hasn't been on since. And I think going forward in this bull run, we will see a lot more Bitcoiners coming on the show. And I think it's just going to be like part of the zeitgeist that Joe Rogan will bring them on. I'm pretty sure Joe Rogan is still confirmed to be holding some coin. He is definitely, in my opinion, already a Bitcoiner. There's a lot of overlapping ideologies and hobbies that he likes with Bitcoiners. But again, I just don't think it's his job to necessarily just only show Bitcoin. Like it's just like a world podcast. He talks about all interesting stuff around the world, and that's why we do our show. But he is going to be doing a disservice to his audience if he doesn't bring Bitcoiners on, because when it gets frothy again in the bull run, there's going to be so many people that get just like, bamboozled going into the shitcoin runs. I'm sure we're going to see another shitcoin season coming up. And so I'd much prefer to see Bitcoiners go on the show and give that pure signal, whether it's Sailor or Safe Dean, or, like I'd love to see Eric Kaysen and Joe Rogan, like, just or Breedlove even, like having these Bitcoiners go on the show, I think would do a mega service to his audience. But I mean, Joe Rogan said what they're going to say anyways. Like he already said it, Bitcoin can't be stopped. It is hard capped. It's the only viable crypto in the space. And so in my opinion, he gets it. It's just like, it's not really his job to just go around and just be like, I know we all want the like Joe Rogan DMT moment where he's just sitting there like mind blown, like, oh my God, really? Like, this is incredible. I think we will get that moving forward. And I just think it's about Bitcoiners not necessarily working on our narrative per se, but just maybe being a little patient and then kind of understanding where Joe Rogan is and what his audience wants, and then angling the Bitcoin message in there. And we talk about this all the time. Like, this is why we do our show. This is why we are Simply Bitcoin, is so that we can constantly cover daily news on Bitcoin. And, not saying that we will be Joe Rogan in the future, but like, this is why we designed our show a certain way, so that we can potentially start to give good media for the average person out there. And so I think it's only a matter of time until we get really good Bitcoiners on the show. Again, we're in the depths of a bear market right now, guys. So like, no one but us cares about Bitcoin at this point. And so it's just a blessing and I guess low-key a curse. So like, we build stuff out. Joe Rogan saying the quiet part out loud. I keep saying that I think Bitcoin has crossed the Rubicon into mainstream consciousness. I'm like, I know it's not actual facts, but I'm almost convinced that pretty much everyone in the world has heard about Bitcoin. They've got their first couple touches, and it's only a matter of time until they get the next touches and they start getting involved in Bitcoin, especially when numbers starts to go up again. Everyone's going to catch the FOMO, and it's just going to get crazy. So shouts out to Joe Rogan. I'm pretty sure that he's seeing what we're seeing, especially he's been covering CBDCs, digital ID systems. Like, he knows what's going on as well. And he, has been a quote unquote conspiracy theorist for a long time. So I am almost positive he is looking for solutions. It's just a matter of time until he's fully on board and just like shilling Bitcoin wallets and stuff. So I think there's hope moving forward. But again, I just don't think it is Joe Rogan's job to be just a constant Bitcoin shill like we are. It's just the way of the beast. And so I think slowly but surely he will have more of these conversations because, again, we say it all the time. And I really do believe this. Like, most people know what the problem is, or most people like in Joe Rogan's position understand what the problem is. It's just they don't fully know that the solution is to fix the money. And so as we fix the money, as we separate money from state, as we take away the money printer from these warmongers out there, like, the world will slowly but surely start to fix itself, and Joe Rogan will have that mind blown moment and we can meme it, and I'm sure we will parade around it. But again, Bitcoin is bigger than any one person, but I do like to see these efforts of content creators, of popular content creators, breaking the echo chamber, because that's all we're doing here, guys, is trying to get Bitcoin outside of the small community that we are on Twitter, or even off of Twitter. Like, Bitcoin global adoption numbers are just minuscule. And I'm just convinced Bitcoin is the best money. And it just blows my mind that more people aren't Bitcoiners. So shouts out to people like Joe Rogan that are having these conversations. And it's only going to get stronger as we move forward. So just awesome to see.
100%. What's your take, Vendetta?
Oh, sorry. I had you muted. Jump again.
Absolutely agree with everything you say. Bitcoin is the future, 100%. I'm totally convinced of this. And the more I see things get progressively worse around the globe, the more it solidifies the belief that sooner or later, even the most resistant human being is going to understand that they cannot continue living in a world where their money is controlled by someone else who has this delusion, this grandeur of wanting to play God to control what you do with it. That's not what money should be, and no one should be subjected to any of it. You work for your money. You decide what you do with it. It's not up to anyone else to tell you what's right and what's wrong. That must stop. And Bitcoin was created specifically to put an end to this nonsense. You know, preservation of wealth.
100%.
Wait, Nico. How's this comment right here? Skip on down the road. Jamie, bring up that video of the bear fighting the Bitcoiner. I can't wait till we have Joe Rogan bringing up memes on his show with Jamie. Jamie, bring up that Bitcoin meme.
Oh man, dude, that is gonna be hilarious. We gotta manifest that. Just manifest that into reality. What Bitcoin memer is gonna be featured on the Joe Rogan Experience first? Oh man, that's gonna be great. That's gonna be glorious. But yeah, no, listen, guys. In all seriousness, people like Joe Rogan, people like Lex Friedman. I know a lot of people dislike Lex Friedman because he brought Vitalik on. People like Tim Pool, right? They're so important. Russell Brand. They're so important in this movement because they're out of the corporate media, or how Parker Lewis said, the government media sphere of influence. So they're not bought and paid for, so to speak. And when they talk about when they talk about Bitcoin, it holds a lot more weight than when we talk about Bitcoin. If you think about it, they're at the tippity top of that funnel. We're pretty close to the top of the funnel because we're not a technical podcast or an entertainment focused podcast, but or show, better said. But yeah, those guys are like, you know, I bet you Tim Pool minted a crap ton of Bitcoiners the moment he said, you see all this stuff that's going on with banks? F that, I'm going to Bitcoin, right? So we need more of that. That's how we win the race to avoid the war. That's how we win this, that's how we awaken people to the reality and the dangers of central bank digital currencies, because people are not aware of that. They're asleep, right? It's not that they don't like it. It's not that most people are just inherently like, yeah, like, totalitarianism, this is great. They're just low information. Like, they are not informed. And the information that they do get, they get it from captured corporate media, right? So it really falls down to you, the individual. You know, of course, we're doing our bit, but it falls down to you to really spread the orange gospel and really tell them, hey guys, it's not left versus right. It's not left versus right. It's not left versus right. It's orange versus green. All right, everybody, let's get to the culture. Let's do this.
The Daily Culture.
Brought to you by SwanBitcoin.com. Swan is the best way to build your Bitcoin stack with automated Bitcoin savings plans and instant purchases, serving clients of any size from $10 to $10 million. We love Swan because they incentivize self-custody and dollar cost averaging. What are you waiting for? Visit SwanBitcoin.com today.
All right, guys, we're going to jump right into the culture. We got Vendetta. Twitter is V for BTC. Go follow him. He works with Bitcoin Way. They sponsor the Clips channel. If you guys are watching the Clips with Dell and Rustin, then you guys have heard them already. And Vendetta, I asked Dell and Rustin if they had some questions for you guys. And I think first and foremost, let's just start with what is the Bitcoin Way and what is your goal? And then we'll get into some of their questions that they thought would be very fitting for you to answer.
Sure thing, man. Well, the Bitcoin Way, think of us as like the IT team in the Bitcoin space. I mean, we come from over 25 years of cybersecurity, encryption, and privacy, and bring a lot of that knowledge, into the Bitcoin space, of which I've been in for a little over 5 years. So our mission, our objective is to fast track the onboarding of anyone into Bitcoin self-custody properly and securely. And we handhold them through the entire process. So whether it's cold wallets, nodes, how to buy no KYC Bitcoin, inheritance planning, integrating Bitcoin payments into your business, you name it. We cover it all. And we make it ABC easy for anyone to learn during the process. But we take care of the technical stuff for them. So those that are, that are nervous approaching this because of the tech, well, we do our best to remove that anxiety that usually becomes associated with it.
Love it. Yeah, I think when we first talked, I had this epiphany, and I might have brought it on the show one day. I went to the Apple store with one of my friends, and I was looking at the Apple Care team, like the IT team, and I'm like, wow, like Bitcoin really does need some kind of like Apple Care IT team. And I was like, oh, wait, like we are that Apple Care, like we are the IT team. And okay, all right. Anyways, that's just me blowing my own mind. Anyways, Dell asked me to ask you, if someone called you Vendetta and they were like, look, I don't know anything about Bitcoin, can you help me? Where would you start? What would you tell them?
Well, the first 30 minutes are free in any call when anybody calls us. So we usually start just by getting to know one another, to understand, what it is that every individual knows, where they stand, on the Bitcoin journey. And we just have a casual conversation, to see how much FUD are they coming with, or whether they actually know anything to begin with. Then we explain to them the process of why Bitcoin is important, so that they get into it, for the right reasons. We absolutely do not want someone to go into Bitcoin, with the purpose of selling it when the price goes up to sell it back out into toilet paper. That's not what this is about. So we ensure that they have fundamental understanding of where the value of Bitcoin is and what it really represents. And then we guide them through the steps necessary. I mean, we do things by phases, just to break down the process, because, we don't want to hit individuals with a tsunami of information at once. So we usually start, with the explanation around the cold wallet, which is absolutely necessary, as step one for any Bitcoiner. And once that's done and set up properly, the default for us is an air-gapped setup. So the device itself never goes online. Once that's handled, we move on to the Bitcoin node, and that's a big one, because most Bitcoiners don't even realize that they need one. And we push that very strongly, because you are neither 100% private or sovereign if you don't have a node. It's almost like having a house with no roof. The node is a must, because obviously it adds to the decentralization and strength of the overall Bitcoin network, but more specifically, it makes every individual private, whereas you're not leaving fingerprints of your Bitcoin activities all over the place. You may not be thinking about this as a big deal now, as Bitcoin's 27,000, but I can assure you, once Bitcoin goes parabolic and becomes worth millions of dollars, you're going to wish you had a node and had not left, your trail of activities all over the place. So privacy is a very big deal, and we make sure, that people understand this. And once that's done, we move on to explain, what are the benefits for learning how to buy no KYC Bitcoin. We help people through the process. We set them up with the proper wallets, in case they have owned Bitcoin already, which is most of the time is KYC. So we create, separate wallets for that, keep the funds separate, explain to them why they should never mix them, get them involved in coin joins, if privacy is a big concern for them. We really go deep, but bit by bit, that's the key for us. We don't bombard them all at once. It's really a hand-holding process, individualized and personalized and customized for everyone, so that everyone's always at ease throughout the entire journey.
Love it. Okay. On that note, you have been kind of talking about privacy and stuff. I think maybe out there's usually a few cynics in the chat. What would you respond to them saying that there is some kind of moral hazard while you're guiding people setting up their wallets and all that stuff? Like, what is your incentive not to necessarily rug pull some of your individuals out there?
We can't rug pull anyone. It's technically impossible, because we control nothing. In fact, we just announced a new service today. You'll be the first to hear about it, is that we're now offering collaborative custody. to maintain the standard of Bitcoin custody. And we've strategically, partnered up with Nunchuck, which is, a very popular Bitcoin wallet on that front. And now, due to heavy demand on this, we are doing collaborative custody, but in a way that keeps the individual 100% in the driver's seat. We cannot do anything as a company. All we are is, think of us as sort of like a backup to one of your keys in case whatever happens to it, you lose it, and so forth. So we've been getting a lot of, people asking for these things. I'm a very big proponent of self-custody. I don't believe anyone's too stupid to learn it. It's just it makes a lot of people nervous because of the tech. And, we guide them through the process to make the tech easy to grasp. And so that being said, there's still a heavy demand for those, that sort of want the peace of mind knowing that just in case, they make a mistake along the way, that someone can help. And for that reason, we put out the collaborative custody package now, where we can definitely hold a backup key for anyone. It's a multi-sig setup, so that automatically upgrades your single sig configuration to something technically much more secure, but without reducing your level of control over your keys. The Bitcoin way cannot send or withdraw anything from anyone. The individual always maintains both keys. So without them, nothing happens. And that's something that, we emphasize very heavily, so that everyone knows that when you're in self-custody, you're the boss. But at the same time, the onus of responsibility is on you. This is why education and understanding this process is critical. Guarding your self-custody setup is something you should, you should be guarding it with your life, because at some point it's going to become so valuable. And if you want to pass it on to some loved ones, well, you need to have a fundamental understanding of this, and so do they. And so we were very active in that process as well, to ensure that everyone coming to us from anywhere, at any stage, whether you're a technical person or not, it doesn't matter. We will guide you. We will fine-tune your setup. Cybersecurity best tips and practices are like a de facto thing that we integrate for everyone. I mean, essentially, we help you become a ghost. So a ghost, when you have no point of attack, well, then you're safer than you were when you started. And like all of these things, they happen through conversations to understand, each one's needs, what they know, what they don't know, what they're comfortable with, what they're not comfortable with. And by the end of that conversation, we're usually able to strike a balance between security and usability. And most individuals that we've worked with so far have been extremely happy with the result. They've come from knowing nothing to feeling as comfortable as using a credit card when it comes to Bitcoin. And that's a win in our book.
Love it. Yeah, 100%. I say it all the time. At first, before you take self-custody, it seems so daunting. It's so terrifying. And then now, after years, it's like sending an email. So on that note, Vendetta, maybe for someone that is new watching this show, still has their coins on the exchange, why is self-custody the revolution? Why do they need to take self-custody? And maybe persuade them that it's not as terrifying as they might be thinking.
Self-custody is absolutely not terrifying. I mean, it's just new. That's all it is. And, like anything, I mean, driving a car, you had to learn it. No one was born a driver. So it's just another skill that you have to learn. Leaving your money on an exchange is no different than leaving your money on a bank. It does not belong to you. It can be taken away from you on a whim. And if that's not abundantly clear in the last 3 to 5 years, well, then I wouldn't recommend that you wait around until your turn comes, because it is coming. I genuinely believe that fiat currencies are all going to zero. It's just a question of when it reaches certain cities and certain countries. It's no longer a question of if, as far as I'm concerned. So if you want any form of control over your wealth, preservation of your wealth, you need to have full control over it. Leaving it in something that's not in your hands, that's where somebody else decides what you can and cannot do with it, is insane. I mean, I don't know what kind of life, you want to live, but if anyone that wants to live with any form of dignity, integrity, and self-value will absolutely not allow themselves live under the dictatorship of somebody else. And if you don't control your money, you have nothing. You are a slave to the system. And so in order not to fall into that trap, you need to opt out. Fortunately, we have Bitcoin. It is the only exit available out there. There is nothing else. Even traditional things where people used to preserve wealth, like gold and real estate, those are not safe anymore, or are not as safe as many people think. That is a fact. I've seen these things stolen from folks, legitimate folks, too many times to even want to listen to that conversation anymore. Those shilling it are doing it from a financially privileged position. They don't know what really happens when things get really bad. And when they do, let me tell you, anything physical is not safe unless you have an army behind you to protect it, which 99% of the world does not.
100%. And that's what you guys do. That's what you guys do at the Bitcoin way. You literally handhold. I can't think of the correct terminology exactly. Handhold people to, and these are essentially people that are not familiar with self-custody. Perhaps they see self-custody as this daunting thing, which it really isn't. Once you get the hang of it, I think it's a lot easier than opening a bank account, in my opinion, right? But I could see why, if you spend the majority of your life in the fiat matrix and then you come to Bitcoin, you look at that, you're like, holy cow, hell no, this stuff is absolutely terrifying. So guys, before we move on to the news, and thank you so much, Vendetta, for giving that presentation on the Bitcoin way, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, the Bitcoin Conference, Bitcoin 2024. It's going to be in Nashville, Tennessee, July 25th through the 27th, 2024, the year of the halving. You don't want to miss it. For a GA ticket, it's $349. For an industry pass, it's $849. If you're trying to get a job in the industry, or if you're trying to come to the conference a day where it's a little bit more chill, for example, the day that Michael Saylor walks around the conference is the industry day. You definitely want to get the industry pass. It's $849. That will give you 3 days at the Bitcoin conference. And for the ultimate experience, if you're a whale, get yourself a whale pass for $4,749. By the way, you can use promo code SIMPLY to get a 10% discount to the largest Bitcoin conference on planet Earth, the largest Bitcoin celebration, Bitcoin 2024, promo code SIMPLY. All right, everybody, let's get to the news.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air gap security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, everybody, I made it super easy for you guys. Scan the QR code on your screen. It will take you directly to the Foundation Devices website where you can get yourself a Passport hardware wallet, not your keys, not your Bitcoin. Take your Bitcoin into self-custody, and the way that you do that is by buying yourself a hardware wallet. We recommend the Passport. It's the sleekest. The UI is awesome, and it's very, very nicely designed, not to mention that it's open source. Anyways, check out this article by Bitcoin Magazine, our friends over at Bitcoin Magazine. U.S. government frames Bitcoin privacy as criminal. New court document reveal that the U.S. government frames the use of blockchain analysis countermeasures as criminal, right? And this is a continuation of the trend. What trend, right? Remember the proposed bill by Elizabeth Warren. She's using wording in there that would basically criminalize unhosted wallet. What is an unhosted wallet? An unhosted wallet is anything. If you take self-custody of your Bitcoin and it's not an exchange, it's not on a brokerage, That is an unhosted wallet, right? And why are they so hell bent on attacking privacy? Why are they so hell bent on, attacking the right to self-custody? Well, it's obvious because it's out of their control. And this reminds me of, before I get into the article, this reminds me of this passage from The Sovereign Individual, a book that we highly recommend that you read. And it goes something like this. New technologies will allow holders of wealth to bypass the national monopolies that have issued and regulated money in the modern period. Their importance for controlling the world's wealth will be transcended by mathematical algorithms that have no physical existence. In the new millennium, cyber money controlled by private markets will supersede fiat money issued by governments. Lacking their accustomed scope to tax and inflate, governments, even in traditionally civil countries, will turn nasty. Businesses that offer services that facilitate the realization of autonomy by individuals will be subject to infiltration, sabotage, and disruption. Arbitrary forfeiture of property, already commonplace in the United States, where it occurs 5,000 times a week, will become even more pervasive. Governments will violate human rights, censor the free flow of information, sabotage useful technologies, and worse. Right, as governments continue to lose their monopoly on the creation of money, their monopoly on information, these things start to seem crazy. Because remember, there's literally in the U.S. Constitution, specifically the Fourth Amendment, it literally says no unreasonable searches and seizures. This sounds fucking totally unreasonable to me, doesn't it? Because fundamentally what is happening is they've never had competition. More importantly, the competition that they've had in the past, they've been able to use their monopoly on violence to shut it down very, very quickly. Remember what happened when Libra announced that they were launching their own currency. This is why I believe that X.com, Twitter, if it's not going to go the way of PayPal, is eventually going to use Bitcoin, because the only currency is the only network that governments cannot censor, that governments cannot stop. And because they can't stop it, because they can't censor it, they're forced to compete with it on equal footing. Anyways, it goes on to say, the U.S. government frames Bitcoin privacy as criminal. And another unfortunate turn of events for anyone hoping their right to privacy to be protected as guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution. The United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, or applicable state and federal law, the U.S. government has argued that the disclosure of proprietary chain analysis heuristics information in the case U.S. versus Sterlingov would, quote, jeopardize numerous law enforcement investigations and impact the effectiveness of law enforcement tracing tools by enabling the development of, quote, criminal countermeasures of blockchain analysis. Remember, we saw very similar wording when the U.S. used North Korea as a justification to sanction open source software. That has never been done in U.S. history. Sanctions are meant for governments. Sanctions are meant for individual businesses or individuals. They were never meant for software. Software is a tool, right? It's a tool. Anyone could use it. And if you set that precedent of being able to sanction certain open source software, you know what else is open source software? Bitcoin. How long until they say we can't have Bitcoin because it's a threat to U.S. sanction policy? How long are they going to say we can't have Bitcoin because it becomes incredibly hard for us to surveil things? Because this is the direction that it's going. This is the inevitable clash that Corey Clipston, CEO of Swan, is talking about in the race to avoid the war. This is why it's so important that you take it upon yourself to orange pill as many people around you as fast as possible. Don't get distracted with the left and right. Don't get distracted with the Republican versus Democrat, or in your country, the conservative versus liberal, right? That's not the fight. That's the divide and conquer strategy. Get in tune with what's really going on. It's really the party of freedom, peace, Bitcoin, prosperity versus the party of green, the party of nihilism, war, poverty, destruction. That's really what's at stake here. When I mean Bitcoiner slavery, I'm not exaggerating. And Beautyon at BitBlock Boom said it even better. No, Nico, it's not Bitcoiner slavery. It is Bitcoin or death, right? It's very strong words, but I agree with him. Anyways, it goes on to say, the oath each and every U.S. government employee pledges when first taking office reads, I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter, so help me God. Apparently, this oath is only applicable so long it serves the U.S. government's agenda while attempting to retain a protective order to seal the disclosure of chain analysis heuristic information. The U.S. government has, in essence, argued that the right to privacy does not exist when transacting on the blockchain. In the newly released court documents, the U.S. government defined software developed to protect individuals' financial privacy on the blockchain, such as coin joins, as adversarial, contending that the disclosure of chain analysis training methods and techniques bears a reasonable expectation to enable circumvention of the law. That's right. Your privacy, because you're seeking privacy, they're literally telling you, because you're seeking privacy, even though you're not committing a crime, you're circumventing the law. This is crazy, crazy rhetoric. This is crazy. They're telling you how they feel about this. And connect this with the wording coming out of the Elizabeth Warren bill. Connect this with the wording that came out of the presidential economic report. That was a hit piece towards Bitcoin, towards non-government money, and it was advocating for, you know what? Central bank digital currencies. You know what central bank digital currencies is not going to allow? It's not going to allow privacy. It's going to allow total totalitarian control of your money by governments. So they're setting the frame. They're using the rhetoric. They're using very aggressive rhetoric to try to villainize Bitcoin in the eyes of the uninformed, which is why we were talking about Joe Rogan in the very beginning of the show. Because people like Joe Rogan, they have such a large platform, they could talk about this stuff. In fact, he has talked about CBDCs. Unfortunately, the people that benefit from the fiat money printer, in fact, their jobs depend on it, are obviously not going to be fans of Bitcoin, because that means it's the end of the racket. It is the end of this wealth redistribution mechanism that affects the lower and middle classes the most because they don't have the means to save in assets, back to the government and back to the very wealthy. It's the end of the party. So they're going to attack Bitcoin with everything they have. And this is why we have to garner enough popular support. Enough people need to be holding Bitcoin in those said countries, because we do become an intransigent minority at that point. It's like, you know, all you need is like 5 to 10% of the population that does not move on the issue. And it becomes incredibly difficult to pass anti-Bitcoin legislation. The gun lobby in the US is a great example of that. Try passing a gun law in the US. It is incredibly difficult, if not impossible. Why? Because a large portion of the population loves guns. So I hope we can get there fast enough before they roll out these CBDCs, because I suspect once they roll out these CBDCs, I don't think they're going to want competition, to be honest with you. Anyways, it goes on to say, unfortunately, it is unclear which laws the U.S. government is referring to. The arguments that the disclosure would enable, quote, criminals, drug trafficking organizations, and terrorists to circumvent law enforcement cannot be made in good faith, as Chain Analysis's own 2023 crypto crime report has found the overall transaction volume of illicit activity to lay at a merely 0.24%. Not to mention that the vast majority of criminal activity, drug trafficking, and terrorism, what they use is US dollars, okay? They use fiat currencies. So why are they so focused on this tiny percentage? I mean, it's obvious. They don't like competition. Just as the early internet was allegedly only used for crime, the share of day-to-day commerce on the blockchain increases as Bitcoin adoption grows. It therefore cannot be argued that the development of privacy protecting software is adversarial in any sense of the word, except to Chain Analysis's business model and the surveillance agenda of the U.S. intelligence complex, who invested $1.6 million in Chain Analysis in 2020 and another $1.64 million in 2021 via the CIA's venture capital fund in QTEL. As long as the development and use of privacy protecting software such as PGP, E2EE, or VPNs cannot be deemed as criminal under the First and Fourth Amendment, neither can the development or use of software aimed to protect one's financial privacy in Bitcoin. However, it appears that constitutional frameworks do not stop the US government from putting forward statements which directly undermine the people's right to protect from unwanted surveillance. Clarifying blockchain surveillance countermeasures such as criminal is just another step the U.S. government has been taking towards total surveillance of U.S. citizens' communications in recent years. In 2015, Congress voted for the prolonging of the Patriot Act via the U.S. Freedom Act, which continues to allow the bulk collection of telecommunication data via telecommunication providers, and the proposed Earn It Act, which would, in essence, would outlaw end-to-end encryption. So far, the only attempt to circumvent the law in the U.S. government's response to minute order is to be found in its own argumentation. So again, like the Earn It Act, the act proposed by Elizabeth Warren that would be a de facto ban on Bitcoin in the United States. Like, whose side are these people really on? Like, that's the question that I have for you guys. Like, this is absolutely bonkers. Even in the US, where the Constitution, even though no one's following that nowadays, the Constitution specifically says you cannot do these things. It looks like they don't give a flying fuck. And why don't they give a flying fuck? Well, it's obvious. They do not like competition, and they see Bitcoin as a clear and present danger. When there's competition, all of a sudden, Bitcoin's for terrorism. Bitcoin is for extremists. Bitcoin is for drug dealers. Bitcoin is, okay, what about dollars? They just put their head in the sand. They completely ignore the dollars aspect of that. They completely ignore the fact that, the Mexican cartels, you know what they like? They like hard, cold cash. They ignore that aspect. Bitcoin is the boogeyman, right? So look, their hope is that enough people read this that are uninformed. That's their hope. Because as soon as people are informed with the truth, as soon as people are informed with the facts, and they're able to make good decisions based on reality and truth, they have no choice. They have no hope in trying to convince the American public of what's going on. So it falls down to you to share this type of content, to be informed with the facts, so that when you go to your Thanksgiving dinner, and Uncle Jim is like, Bitcoin is for terrorism, you're going to say, no, I got the facts. The US dollar has been the one used for terrorism, right? So yeah, that's my take on that. Opti, I'm curious what you think, and then we'll move on to Vendetta.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it on the show plenty of times. We all know that the dollar, paper money, is the real money of criminals, but I find it absolutely incredible that they will use this narrative that Bitcoin is for money launderers, Bitcoin is for financial criminals, and they're going to constantly use this until it is no longer worth its salt. Because the fiat world is terrified. And of course, they understand what we understand. Bitcoin can't be stopped. It is hard capped. It is censorship resistant. It is decentralized. So outside of the control of these people, it is pseudonymous. So you don't know whose money is who, and it is fully transparent. So of course, all these features combined are why they're absolutely terrified, because they want a money that they can fully control. They want fully survey. And here we are as Bitcoiners, and it's only 14 years old, and it's already out of their control. It's already a little too late. And so, of course, the fiat parasites want to stop Bitcoin, or rather attempt to stop Bitcoin. And this is why they try to paint us all as criminals, and this is why they're fighting privacy technology. And shouts out to Lola Leeds for continuously covering this theme. She's been doing a very, very great job. In another piece, Lola covered that the Chain Analysis CEO admitted that their black box software isn't as set in stone as chain anal would like you to believe. Like it basically is guessing and putting people in jail, and they admit this stuff. And now we have further proof that the U.S. government is doing PR for chain analysis, and so that they can continue to put people in jail, continue to put innocent people in jail, by the way. And this is like where we are right now, that they're like, yeah, it, it would it wouldn't protect people if we told you guys what the software is that chain analysis is running. Like it's going to help criminals. It's like, yo, you are literally hurting citizens right now. And it almost seems like chain analysis is the real criminals. But of course, criminals covering for other criminals, that's all part of the game. But we know, and history has shown this, that the real criminals use real criminals want dollars. And just because Bitcoin is, fringe technology, it's on the edge, it's cutting edge technology, we see this happen all the time. The illiterate Luddites that are known as politicians constantly do the same thing. They're even doing this to AI, or they did it to email and the internet. Like, they constantly are just in perpetual fear of new technology because they know that they can't control this technology and they're trying to protect their jobs. Like, we see this happen in every space, let alone when you find a new technology, or rather build a new technology that is the best money in the world. And the only way they are able to do what they do is because of the money, because of their control of the money. It's just very obvious why they constantly fight Bitcoin. It's obvious why they always paint Bitcoiners as criminals. It's obvious why they use the low-hanging fruit of Bitcoiners or money launderers, is because they have rules that they can attack you with this very simple pretense. And here we are. They're just trying to fit the round peg in a square hole, or square peg in a round hole, so that they can try to gaslight and stop the adoption of Bitcoin. But I would say it's a little too late. But I mean, it's absolutely disgusting that the U.S. government is playing PR for chain analysis when they're admitting that their software is basically broken. And here we are, like it's peak. I want to say peak clown world, but it's not. It's probably going to get crazier. But hey, man, this is why we tell you guys to run nodes, to take Bitcoin into self custody, to coin join, download Sparrow Wallet. People are asking, they haven't downloaded a node. They're not running nodes, guys. It's very simple. Like, the hardest part for a node is probably verifying the file that you downloaded is actually what you think it is, and it's not some kind of spyware. So it's literally pressing buttons, guys. So you need to do this if you are taking this Bitcoin thing seriously, because you cannot trust anyone with your money. And here we are, it keeps playing out over and over and over until everyone wakes up to the idea that I either need an Uncle Jim or I need to become Uncle Jim for my friends and family. So here we are, guys. It is the bear market. Now is the time to run nodes, to take Bitcoin off exchanges, to consolidate UTXOs, because it's going to get crazy and you do not want to get caught up in the FOMO. Anyways, Vendetta, what's your thoughts on this?
Absolutely, man. I couldn't have said it any better. We are living in a world of legalized lawlessness, as far as I see it, and this must come to an end. I mean, this is clearly a criminal organization at work. There is absolutely no accountability for anyone, and that's not right. I mean, the law is there for a reason, but no one seems to be following it, and no one seems to be doing anything about it. Governments, were put in place, by the people. And, on the other side, we, the people, have the power to take them out. And so we should, because if they're not doing their job, well, then they're not supposed to be there. And Bitcoin is the peaceful way of going on about this. I mean, historically, tyranny has only been removed in one way, and that's violence. Bitcoin gives us, for the first time, a peaceful way of doing this. Everybody needs to understand that they do have a choice to exit a system that's designed to keep them enslaved. You work day and night, your money is losing value, and you're taxed on top of it. So what's really left? If you have a family, it is your job, it's your responsibility to at least study Bitcoin enough and get off zero to preserve something for the next generation. We tell everyone, get off zero, get as close as you possibly can to 1 Bitcoin as fast as you can. And don't worry about the technical stuff. If you need help, there's plenty of help. We're here to help you. We're here to handhold you through the entire process. but you cannot continue living your life, under somebody else's dictatorship. It's just not the way to do it.
100%, 100%. And I agree, man, that there's no excuse. There's no excuse at this point, not to opt out. There's no excuse not to take self-custody. I think we're more than that point. Opti was mentioning nodes before. Definitely check out Start9. That's the one I personally use. It's freaking awesome. Or you could just download Bitcoin Core on an old laptop. Like, there's absolutely no excuse to like literally like stop trusting someone else's copy of the Bitcoin blockchain. Like, use your own copy of the Bitcoin blockchain, right? Take self-custody of your Bitcoin. There's so many great hardware wallets. There's so many great ones to choose from. Like, it's just like, it's so obvious, right? At this point, with Clown World breaking down, Bitcoin provides this like, this orange life raft where you can find peace there. So anyways, before we move on to the memes, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Kaboom Rex. They are literally the best place to buy Bitcoin miners. If you're looking to buy Bitcoin miners, your answer is Kaboom Rex. Get the top deals, the best prices, repair and hosting services all in one place. You can get started through the link down below in the video or podcast description, and you can start launching your mining journey with Kaboom Racks today. You can scan the QR code on your screen. It will take you directly to the Telegram Kaboom Racks marketplace, where you're going to find the best deals on the latest Bitcoin ASICs. And also, if you have any questions, doubts, or concerns, Kaboom Racks is there to help. You can ask any of the Kaboom Racks guys in the chat. You'll see them. They have like a yellow outline in their profile picture, and they'll be happy to answer any questions you might have about the latest Kaboom Racks deals. Anyways, everybody, let's get to the meme review.
The Daily Meme Review.
All right, guys, here we are. This is the meme review where you send us memes on Twitter. Tag me at simplybitcointv or at Optimus Fields. Don't just tag your favorite memers, tag your own memes. I'm okay with a little bit of nepotism on the meme reviews. I just need memes, guys. I was talking to TK. He's in our Telegram group, t.me/simplybitcoin. And I was telling him, guys, we need more memes. So drop the tweets in our Telegram group. I look at them every single morning. It's a lively conversation, but it's lacking in tweets, guys. Give me the tweets so I can get them on the show. Anyways, you already know, tweets are the bullets, memes are the artillery. We are in an information war, and it's upon us as Bitcoiners to spread the Bitcoin signal. There is no Bitcoin marketing team. You are the marketing team. So make the memes, get the calls of actions out there, ridicule the corporate press, make some funny so your friends' heads stay in the game. This is all part of the journey. Get the calls of actions out there so that more Bitcoiners are born every single block. Anyways, first meme is by Run the Banks, aka at empty_banks. And he goes, every time they drop another PSYOP, I like stacking more Bitcoin. And we got I think this is like a Greek or a Roman statue here. And it goes, do not concede, revolt. And it's a peaceful revolution. All you got to do is just stack some sats, guys. Opt out of the madness. Opt out of the fiat game and build a better life on Bitcoin. All right, this next one. This one might get a little clunky, but I absolutely love this one. Shouts out to Greg Zaj. Greg Zaj won on Twitter, and he goes, loving this remix feature on Midjourney for Fake Toshi. And I'm a little colorblind, so this one's a little hard for me to see. I can't make out the patterns on this one, but they get clearer as we go on, guys. So here's the first one. It's almost like there's someone there behind this flaming building. Oh, wait, is this Fake Toshi in his red shirt? Oh, my goodness. Wait, what is going on? Burning buildings, but it looks like Fake Toshi? Absolutely amazing. Good stuff, Greg Zaj. This is what we mean by mimetic warfare. Okay, next one. Not that Elon. At eggplant_Elon, and he goes, me, why am I so broke all the time? Everyone, stop buying Bitcoin all the time then. Me, no, not that. Something else. There's another reason why I'm broke, and it's not because I constantly buy Bitcoin. What's the reason that we're broke? What is wrong with the money? Maybe it's the money, stupid. Maybe they're printing obscene amount of money, but I do buy a lot of Bitcoin, and this is probably why I'm broke. Anyways, this next meme is by @Wojak Bitcoin, and it goes, Bitcoin is inevitable, flames. And we got a shadowy super coder that's not a Bitcoiner, and he goes, every cryptocurrency that was created before Bitcoin failed, and Bitcoin will fail as well. And we got the Chad Bitcoiner, goes, eCash, B-Money, Bitgold, and Hashcash fail because they were not decentralized. Bitcoin is inevitable. Bitcoin is the truly decentralized money in the world. No one controls it. That's why we're telling you to run nodes so that you can help decentralize the network. But just running a node doesn't mean anything. You need to run a node and then verify your transactions with that node. It needs to have economic weight behind it. Just running a node means nothing. Don't just spin up a node because it's cool. You need to spin up a node and then connect it to your wallets and verify your transactions. Anyways, this next meme is by the BTC therapist, and he goes, sometimes the truth hurts. And we got that picture of the sailor girl, and she's holding up a sign, and it goes, the banks don't have your money. And it's got a Bitcoin logo. Guys, it's so simple. The banks literally don't have your money. Fractional reserve banking, and they dropped the limit in 2020. It used to be 10%. They only hold 10% of your money. Now it's literally 0. They don't have your money. There's literally no money in banks. They lend it all out. And you expect your money to be there when shit hits the fan, guys. Become your own banks. Opt out of this stuff. Hold Bitcoin. Hold hard assets. Hold the best money in the world. It is Bitcoin. We're in a digital world. You want some digital money for the digital age. Anyways, next meme is by @21JCLP. And he's been killing it. And I saw this first from Sailor, and it was just find Bitcoin. And then I noticed that our boy 21JCLP is the one that made it. So it's like a crazy AI picture, and it's an eye, but it's got the Bitcoin logo in the eye. And I don't know, it's got all kinds of crazy stuff out here, maybe like cypherpunk stuff, samurai warrior coats. I don't even know what it is, but super tight. Great job. All right, this next one is, I don't even think this guy is necessarily a Bitcoiner. No, he's a Bitcoiner. Cool. Small account, Paulo Bagu, @TheRealPauloBagu. And he is dropped a meme on Max Kaiser's tweet. And Max Kaiser goes, let's not forget who finances the primary cause of all the misery. Central banks, including the IMS. Bitcoin fixes this. But that's not what I wanted to put on. It's just a classic Ron Paul. And we got a picture of Ron Paul here with a quote. And I think it is very fitting that we end the meme review on today's show, considering all the crazy stuff happening in the world. It's a Ron Paul quote that says, it is no coincidence that the century of total war coincided with the century of central banking. Guys, there is no coincidence. What do you always say, Nico? There's no coincidence. There's no accidents or coincidence.
There's no conspiracies, but there's no coincidences.
Yes, exactly. We live in some crazy times, guys. Opt out of this madness. Save in Bitcoin. Protect yourself. This is what it's about, guys. You don't need to do Bitcoin to be altruistic like some Bitcoiners. Just save Bitcoin to protect yourself. It's okay, guys. We are going through crazy times. You need to have some savings. You need to have some money outside the system, because when shit hits the fan, we already know where it is headed. The banks don't have your money, guys. Whew. All right. Anyways, drop your meme review score on the other side, Nico, and we will cover ours live. My meme review score, again, I'm in my dad's office right now.
Oh, some good scores.
Yeah, he's got all kinds of crazy stuff. He's got this, I think it's a railroad spike that was used on the railroad. I think it's steel. It looks old. It's even cracked, actually used.
Damn.
Railroad spike.
Damn. That's a good score. Anyways, Vendetta, what would you give those memes?
An 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
Okay, let's go.
Classic score. I like it. Okay, I'm going to give it this 3D printed by the F and Dip. That's going to be my score.
Nice.
Classic score to start Monday off strong.
Honestly, Nico, I thought you were gonna pull out something else 3D printed, but hey, that's neither here nor there. Okay.
So that's gonna be my score. All right, everybody. Please drop your meme score in the live chat. Before we get to that, I want to give a shout out to the Simply Bitcoin merch. Guys, get the Simply Bitcoin merch while supplies last. Opti is wearing the classic Simply Bitcoin merch hoodie. It's in orange. We also have the Simply Bitcoin shirt in black. with the Simply Bitcoin logo in the back. You definitely don't want to miss it. Get it while supplies last. Help us support the show, and the way you do that is by getting some merch. It really, really helps us. Help us stay on the air. Get yourself some Simply Bitcoin merch today. All right, everybody, let's get to the chat. Opti, cue the epic music, please. All right, first score by Son of Satoshi. I don't, but I'd let her. IYK, shirts coming soon. John Pleb, my score is in Rumble. Can't watch here. That's right, everybody. Shout out to our Rumble audience right now. Let me see. We have 40 live viewers on Rumble. Those numbers continue to go up, so we appreciate you all on Rumble. Guys, if you can't find us on YouTube for whatever reason, tune into us Monday through Friday, 12:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, day or shine. You can find us on Twitter or on Rumble. So make sure to subscribe to us on Rumble. Anyways, J-Dub, the Laker, 21 mil. Nice to meet you in LA, homie. It was really, really nice to meet you, brother.
Hey, that chain though, that gold chain's on fleek.
Bro, wish I had more time, dude. I was running around like crazy, but to everybody who I saw in Los Angeles, love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and making this show possible. Meme scored the new Bitcoin boy band that just came out of Pacific Bitcoin, the Tri-Tips. IYK, PS, they did touch the tips. That's right. I retouched my tip. That's why it's so intense today. But we got another tip. We got Nathan Fast, and he touched his tip as well. Elaine scored. Bitcoin conferences provide name badges, instantly creates more Bitcoiner friends, relationships, and communities. That's absolutely spot on, Elaine. Next one by John Pleb. Meme score, a perfect 3 out of 3. Allowed YouTube screams for not forfeiting your fundamental human right to privacy. All right, next score we got Kazen. Meme score is Bitcoin protects you from gov and institutions trying to corrupt you. I love that. Next one by Hey Goober, one office space. It's a classic score. I like it. I'll take it. All right.
Wait. This isn't a meme score, but we're gonna make it a meme score.
Opti looks like ET wrapped in a blanket. We are out of time. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Consider subscribing if you feel like we provided you value. But the number one thing you could do to help push the peaceful Bitcoin revolution forward is share this content. In fact, share all Bitcoin content. Get it out there. Help us break the Bitcoin echo chamber. And that falls down to you. Share this content. Share all Bitcoin content. Get the message out there. We need to win this. We need to win this not only for us, but for our children and our children's children. Anyways, guys, thank you. I want to give a shout out to our special guest today, Vendetta. Thank you so much for tuning in. Guys, check out the Bitcoin Way, one of our sponsors for our original or Simply Bitcoin originals and our clips, and check them out. They'll help you. They'll handhold you through the entire Bitcoin process, whether that's taking self-custody, setting up your multi-sig, anything you want. The Bitcoin Way guys have your back. So Vendetta, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, man. Great to be here.
I appreciate it, man. You guys could follow Vendetta at V4BTC. Anyways, thank you, Vendetta. Appreciate it. Guys, that was our show. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Opti, are we doing a Twitter Spaces?
Yeah, I got Twitter Spaces. I might get kicked out of my dad's office, but it's running. We should run for another 25 minutes.
Awesome. All right, guys. So if you want to join us, a Simply Bitcoin after party, which we co-host with our friends over at Swan Bitcoin, best place to build your Bitcoin stack. You can find us on Twitter, or you can go to the Swan handle and you'll see us doing a live Twitter Spaces. Feel free to jump in there. Maybe Vendetta joins us and the audience has some questions for us. So yeah, we'll be holding that down until 2 p.m. But until then, guys, love you all. We'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live.
Guys, good to be back here. Other spaces, you already know the deal. This is a Bitcoin space by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners. So come up here. Let's talk about Bitcoin. Actually, I see some friends here. Maybe we're just going to do like a love fest and recap the weekend. But I'm going to pick on some friends. Hopefully, they will come up here and hang out with me. Also, shouts out to Andres. He's that boy dirty. He's